Right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a a presentation session of the Land Use Planning Unit. I hope you're all well. We haven't seen each other for quite some time. Um, I have learned that there are 5 groups in the class, and I would advise to anyone to anyone or any group that is ready to present to begin or to prepare their presentation. I have already activated or already permitted screen sharing. So to whoever's group is ready, um, the floor is yours. Okay, group 1, you're more than welcome to proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Prananda and everyone. We are from Group 1, and our topic is about land use change into palm plantation, which caused flooding in Seluma Regency in Bengkulu. And so these are the group members that are going to present in this presentation. There will be Gary, which has a student number of 2. There will be Vico, which is myself, with a student number of 3. There are Naomi and Laura, which is a student number of 4. And the last one will be Lafa with a student number of 20. And so these are the contents that we are going to discuss about. So the introduction will be presented by Lafa. The discussion will be presented by Garibaldi, and the conclusion will be presented by Laura and also me in the conclusion part. And let's start with the introduction. So Lafa, the stage is yours.
Okay, this is the background, regional development and population growth in Bengkulu from year to year is very rapid. Regional development and population growth, which also means an increase in human needs, in this case, the need for land. This has implication for land conversion, in this case, Seluma District, Bengkulu, to become oil palm plantation. The impact of the conversion of land use into oil palm plantation in the destruction of the upstream area of the Air Alas River in Seluma Regency, Bengkulu. Land use change caused the upstream absorption capacity to decrease, so that when heavy rain occur, rivers overflow and flood the area. The floods that occur damage hundreds of hectares of rice field ready for harvest in Semidang Alas, Talo, Ulu Talo, and Ilir Talo district, Saluma district. The study objective of this research is to find out how land use change into palm plantation can cause flooding in Saluma, Regency, Bengkulu, and the scope of study and area. This study focused on the land use change in the upstream area of Air Alas River in Saluma Regency, Bengkulu, which has damaged and reduced water catchment areas that caused rice fields in Semidang Alas, Talo, Kulutalo, and Ilir Talo district being flooded.
Next, we are going to move to the discussion section. So first, we're going to talk about the upstream area first. Upstream area is identical with forestry type of land use, typically in mountain or hilly areas. Excuse me. Water buffer forest areas were located in the upstream of Air Alas River. Here in the map, you can see that Air Alas River is visualized in the blue color. And for the dark green is the dry forest, which is non-agricultural purpose land. And also the light green is the shrubs, also non-agricultural land. The Air Alas River is located in the Alas watershed. So water buffer forests have an important role in a watershed because they have a high water infiltration capacity. A change in the watershed component of the upstream will affect the component of the downstream. So in the Aira Alas River upstream, excuse me, there's a land use change. The cause of the flooding that occurred in the Seluma Regency is because of the change in land use around the upstream area of Air Alas River. The upstream part of the river should be used for water catchment areas, or in this case, water buffer forests. However, the area is converted into oil palm plantation. Here in the map, you can see that the color red is the plantation. It is located right next to the Air Alas River upstream. I should have mentioned before that Air Alas River upstream has three water sources. The north side is the main, and then there's the middle called Air Alas Tengah, and also in the far right bottom is the Air Alas Kanan. Mainly the plantations are located in the Air Alas Kanan and Air Alas Tengah. This results in the area being unable to provide the adequate rainwater infiltration capability, so that when heavy rain occurs, it causes flooding in the downstream area. So we're going to talk about the watershed management. Watershed management is an integrated part of the upstream to downstream area management and supervision involving all related parties, which is stakeholders. The watershed management has a protective function for the entire watershed, which includes aspect of water conditioning, focus of attention in a watershed, and biophysical linkages between upstream and downstream. Watershed management can also be done by controlling community behavior, which is manifested in the management of watershed policy. This policy is formulated in various forms of regulation issued by the regional government, provincial government, and also the central government. Changes in the function of this area have an effect on spatial planning policies, especially in regards to the management of watersheds, or in DAS, namely by prohibiting development in watershed areas.
The next one is conclusion and recommendation. The conclusion is the main cause of rice fields flooding in Selman district is the land use change of Air Alas River upstream area, and the land use change into oil palm plantation caused the narrowing of water catchment area, reducing water infiltration capabilities, and caused an overflow of the river. The flooding in Selman district occurred due to human behaviors.
So these are the recommendation for this kind of case. So we have found 3 recommendations for this scenario, which is to improve the spatial planning law in Bengkulu. The second one would be the catchment area preservation, which is especially on the water catchment. And the last one will be the flood management. So yeah, the first one will be the improved spatial planning law, meaning that the government should encourage their arrangement on their law on specifically on spatial planning. So the spatial planning law has to get a better utilization. So the main point of this section, the main point of improving spatial planning law is that spatial planning must be treated wisely and should be treated collectively, because there are tons of various of factors that can cause the adverse effect, maybe both natural and hereditary in inhabiting the area before the spatial layout. And so the next recommendation would be the water catchment area preservation. So the meaning of this recommendation is the reforestation by planting trees to conserve the nature. So it will be preventive to measure the prevent of the floods. So it's like to ensure the sustainability. It is expected to support the regional development. So in this recommendation, it is hoped that the sustainability of the forest function, the forestry development must guarantee the preservation of the forest. And the last The last recommendation will be the flood management. So in this flood management is the control of the flood frequency of the incident. So according to the location or the control area, it can be grouped into two areas, which is the upstream and also the downstream. So the upstream will be the building flood controls dams that can slow down the arrival time from floods, and it will reduce the amount of flood discharge and making the field reservoirs um, can change the flood hydrograph pattern in the Wheeling and watershed. And the last one will be the downstream by repairing the river channels and the embankments, cutting down into the critical channels, constructing the flood control channels even better, and utilizing the inundation areas for retardant basins and others. So I think this is the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening to our presentation. If you do have any question, feel free to ask through chat or through on mic or maybe raise hand. You may answer.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that brief, excellent presentation and a brief overview of how land use change influence can influence the environment, or how I especially like how you have explained the mechanism or the relationship between land use change and environmental degradation. You've also mentioned efforts to manage the watersheds and through development prohibitions and everything else. I'd like to address the solutions that you guys have recommended. Um, that's it. The recommendations to improve spatial planning laws, water catchment area preservation and management, and then flood management. Which of these three recommendations would fall into the category of long-term recommendations and short-term recommendations? Would anybody care to elaborate?
I would like to answer that question, sir. The long-term recommendation would be the water catchment area preservation, because I think that the improved spatial planning laws in Bengkulu and the flood management takes more time rather than the area preservation. So I think that with the water catchment area preservation would be the first recommendation that could actually reduce the amount of floods, because forest and green area could take care of the overflow of water during the heavy rains or the other types of incident that can cause floodings. And I would think that that would be the first one that needs to be recommended. The second and third one would be the improve the spatial planning law and the flood management. That's what I think about the which one is the long-term management and the short-term management. If the other members have any more ideas, you can actually add.
I think I agree with Fico as well, because in flood management, it is more like an action that we take after we know that there's a flooding in there. So it's kind of like the reaction, not the action we do before. So I think water catchment, the flood management is only for short term, because it's only controlling the flood. It doesn't remove the flood entirely. I think that's all.
Okay. Can I get a virtual thumbs up from anybody in the audience who agrees with the group's answer? Nobody seems to agree. Okay, there you go. Anybody else? Okay, well, look, kudos on the effort. I'd like to, I'd like to bring you back to the reason why land use. Oh, sorry, my bad. To the reason why flooding occurred in the first place. You mentioned something about land use change. Um, Land use change in relation to or the land use change to accommodate crude palm oil production, CPO production. So and because of this CPO production, because of that, flooding has occurred, right, through various measures or mechanisms. What I would suggest is that the long term vision or the long term strategy is perhaps to shift the industry or shift the regional income generation from crude palm oil production to something else, to other commodities that that are more environmentally friendly and that are more sustainable. So that's my suggestion for the long term solution. The other solutions that the group have mentioned, watershed management and flood management, I reckon those are more reactive strategies. Oh, there's flooding. What are we going to do with all this water? That's where that's where watershed management comes in. And then spatial planning policies and law enforcement, spatial planning law enforcement. Yes, that's important to manage the floods. However, it doesn't really solve the root of the problem, which is land use change due to CPO production. And in my opinion, we need to address CPO production first. Up to a certain extent, CPO production is acceptable, but if it's done extensively, and if CPO production causes damage to other aspects or causes degradation to other aspects of regional or urban life, then CPO production becomes a problem. So that's something that we need to address, I reckon. But all in all, great presentation. I like it because it's nice and concise. It's very clear. And you guys have just set the standards. You guys have just set the standards for the rest of the groups to follow. So give yourselves a pat on the back, and you may conclude your session, and the next group can begin to prepare their presentations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are from Group 2 and we are going to present our major assignment about land use change in Singkawang City. Our group's members are Nessa Mera, student number 1, Amira Kiraina, myself, student number 6, Matilda Odelia, student number 12, and Muhammad Davin, student number 20. Next. This is our table of contents. The first one is introduction. Moving on to literature review, the study, and conclusion and recommendation. Next.
The first one is the introduction. The background is limited and relative land supply will cause various problems in their use. The problems as a result of the need for land are increasingly complex and increasing steadily, especially as related with ownership and control problems. It needs protection and legal guarantees from the government, in particular the region government. Rapid population growth coupled with the need for housing has reduced agricultural land. The narrow land is increasingly fragmented due to housing and trade needs. Land conversion can also occur due to the lack of incentives provided to land farmers and the urbanization process, which has an impact on the expansion of activities in urban areas. Currently, many regions in Indonesia, including Singkawang City, have shifted the function of agricultural land that is not in accordance with its designation. The goal is to find out the impact of land use change and to find out the land functions on spatial planning and to find out the factors causing increasing change of land function in Singkawang City. General description. Land use change is a process by which human activities transform to natural landscape, referring to how land has been used, usually emphasizing the functional role of land for economic activities. Land use changes are often nonlinear and might trigger feedback to the system, stress living condition, and threaten people with vulnerability. Therefore, not only do land use change trajectories need assessment, but also possible future conditions must be projected for certain assumptions, both basic to ensuring sustainable conditions.
Next is the literature review. Land use, basically the form of land use is a form human activity that exists on plot of land. That was the theory by Yunus 2008. Land use activities generally show the process of the relations between human substance, energy, and information. That was by Xie et al. 2013. Land development is altering the landscape in any number of ways, such as changing landforms from a natural or semi-natural state for a purpose such as agriculture or housing. Second one, subdividing real estate into lots, typically for the purpose of building homes. And the last one, real estate development or changing its purpose, for example, by converting an unused factory. Land use involves the management and modification of natural environment or wilderness into built environments such as settlements and semi-natural habitats such as arable fields, pastures, and managed wood. Land management is the process of managing the use and development in both urban and rural settings of land resources. Land resources are used for a variety of purposes, which may include organic agriculture, reforestation, water resource management, and ecotourism projects. Beyond the complexity of land use itself, those endeavoring to understand socioeconomic impacts of rural land because use change are further challenged by the different ways people experience impact of change. This approach recognizes that an intervention, such as a change in land use, leads to processes of social change. Social change is the way of human interactions and relations relationships transform cultural and social intuition over time, having a profound impact on society. Social change is experienced by every society, which basically cannot be separated from change in the culture of the community concerned. Social change can cover all aspects in community life, namely change in the way of thinking and interaction among citizens to become more rational, change in the attitude and orientations of economic life to become increasingly commercial, change in the daily work procedures marked by a sharper divisions of labor into specialization activities, change in institutional and community leadership. There are increasingly democratic change in the method and means of activities that are increasingly modern and efficient and other. Agricultural land has a strategic role and function for the Indonesian people, are pattern agrarian, because there are a large number of Indonesian people who depend on agriculture. But from time to time, land soil is a natural resource that is scarce, especially in urban areas. Change in land use may occur because of change in spatial plans, their wisdom in directions of their use, and follow market mechanism, as well as the lack of understanding the public and government official about the spatial land conversions from agriculture to non-agriculture, broadly in line with the development policy that emphasize and concern with aspects of amenity growth throughout investment, both to investor, both local and foreign investor in the provisions of land.
The next topic is the study. Next. Our study scope is Singkawang City. Singkawang is one of the tourist destination in West Kalimantan. Singkawang City is the second government city in West Kalimantan after Pontianak. It is a form of municipal government in West Kalimantan with an area of 504 kilometers square, or around 0.34% of the total area of West Kalimantan. The complete boundaries for the city of Singkawang are in the north, Sambas Regency; in the south, Bengkayang Regency; in the east, Bengkayang Regency; and in the west, Natuna Sea. It consists of 5 districts and 26 sub-districts. Next. This is the soil type in Singkawang City. There are organosols, alluvial, podsol, latasol, and PMK, pod solid merah kuning or yellow red soil. Next. Next, David. Next, David.
In a glitch.
I think this is the soil type. This is the land use in Singkawang City. According to its use, land in Singkawang City can be divided into 3 types, namely paddy fields, non-rice fields, and non-agricultural land. In 2016, the area of rice fields in Singkawang City was 3.13 thousand hectares, or decreased by 7.20% when compared to the previous year. The total paddy field is 3.13 thousand hectares, 1.11 hectares, or 35.32%, and non-irrigated rice fields covering 2.03 thousand hectares, or 64.68%. And in 2016, the area of non-paddy agricultural land in Singkawang City increased by about 0.67%, from 36.46 thousand hectares to 36.71 thousand hectares. Singkawang also has a moorland area a field area, and a plantation area. It also has non-paddy fields planted with trees or community forests, covering an area of 1.75 thousand hectares. Meanwhile, 5.04 thousand hectares of non-rice fields temporarily not cultivated. Another non-rice agricultural land is about 1.82 thousand hectares. And in 2016, the area of non-agricultural land experienced a slight decrease of around 0.02%. Next. Land use in Singkawang City. Land use change in Singkawang City. In Singkawang, changes in the function of agricultural land that was not following its designation. The development of Singkawang City can be said to be increasingly rapid. This certainly supports the vision of Singkawang City as a center for economic development in West Kalimantan, which is oriented towards people's economic development. Along with the development, limited space, especially in the city center, which actually has the highest land use intensity, has resulted in a land conversion where the need for space for activity is greater. If this continues, it will result in an unplanned expansion of the city, and of course, it will have an impact on urban conditions such as floods, environmental degradation, and building irregularities. The conversion of agricultural land in Singkawang City is not in accordance with the provisions of law, Undang-Undang Number 41 of 2009 concerning the protection of sustainable food agricultural land. The use of agricultural land, which has been converted to various non-agricultural activities, is caused by various factors, among others due to the limited availability of land for development both in urban and peripheral areas. In addition, high land prices in various strategic locations have made many people who own the land tempted to sell it. This can be seen from the many people who sell their land hoping to get money as business capital. Still in land use change in Singkawang City, the city government considers that urban development can only be done by converting existing agricultural lands. The conversion of agricultural land has caused agricultural land to become narrower, and this has disrupted the evaluation of the city government regarding the revised regional regulation on RT/RW. As in RT/RW in 2009 to 2029 states that it is for industries with the smallest area, only about 0.02%. Other areas are fields or shrubs, 7.28%, shrub forest, 8.03%, mixed gardens, 5.14%, and mining, 2.61%. The increasing population growth demand the need for urban space to be able to accommodate the ever-growing population, while on the other hand, the limited land in the city center will lead to development to the periphery areas. The main cause of irregular land use is the unequal distribution of city facilities, which are only concentrated in the city center. In other words, the development of space for urban activities causes the development of urban land to become uncontrollable. The next about factors will be explained by my friend Davin.
Next is factor causing increasing change of land function. The injustice that occurs due to the ineffectiveness of existing legal provisions is the reason for the need for efforts to enforce existing regulation consequently and consistently. About land conversation, at least several provisions have been issued in various forms and levels which essentially regulate the conversion of agricultural land function accompanied by government regulation. Weakness in the application of land management are the cause of land conversion. The increase in land price encourages speculation. The scarcity of urban land development for settlement, however, the most fundamental thing that causes land competition to occur is that the regional government itself has not issued regional regulation regarding regional spatial planning regulating agricultural land areas. Weak support from local governments in issuing spatial planning regulation will harm regional economic development. Each region has priority. Some regions are pursuing local revenue to improve the regional economy so that it can grow faster, so that more agricultural land is used for housing and trade. Next. Law enforcement in transfer of land function. Law as a means of implementing policies can work effectively if its implementation is supported by several adequate, namely policy factors, the mentality of legal officers, process support facilities, and public awareness factors. The rule of law or regulators factors can affect the effective operation of law in society. Major rules that are not following those stated in the law above and contrary to the habits that live in society will hinder the effectiveness of the operation of the law. The mentally factors of officer who apply of enforce the law must also be good so as not to function the law according to their own will. The facility factors that support the implementation process also determine the effectiveness of the operation of law in society. Another fundamental factors is the legal awareness factors of the community. In sense, law enforcement is the manifestation of legal principles into real human behavior in society. If in this application there is a match between the rule and real behavior in society, then the law can be said to be working effectively or the law is functioning properly. Based on this, it can be said that the function of law enforcement is to analyze legal rules so that they are under the aspiration of the law itself, namely realizing human attitudes or behavior by the frame established by law or the law. Law enforcement does not only carry out the formal mechanism of a legal rule, but also strives for the realization of the virtues contained in the rule of law. Thus, a series of value description in this form, namely the creation and maintenance of peace in social life. Next. To minimize irregularities, it is necessary to undertake supervision efforts. In this case, the granting of an IPPT permit for land use. This is done to record the implementation of space utilization by all parties, so that if there is a deviation in space utilization, it can be identified as soon as possible and effort to resolve it are immediately carried out. However, so far the handling of the abuse of space utilization has only been limited to giving a warning or a notification letter. It has not yet reached the maximum handling either in the form of fines or the application of other section. Special planning and land use planning can be developed if land use is well coordinated while maintaining environmental sustainability and preventing land use that is detrimental to the community. The spatial plan becomes a reference in regional development by taking into account the aspect of urban physical planning, the environment and land use planning, and other planning, including city development. Spatial plans that prioritize physical development planning alone cause green open areas and agriculture to experience degradation. This can be seen in several urban areas where there are many developments for housing or trade centers. The conversion of land function has caused irregularities in spatial planning and caused problem with the spatial planning of Singkawang City.
So the last one is the closing. The conclusion is change of agricultural land functions that occur in the city of Singkawang not yet concerning protection of agricultural land, sustainable food. Land use agriculture, which has been converted to various non-agricultural activities, is caused by various factors, among others, due to the limited availability of land for development in both urban and suburban areas. In addition, land prices are high in various strategic locations, causing many communities to have the land tempted to sell it. Changes to the environment due to land use change can cause reduced water catchment areas in urban areas, resulting in the season hot soil becomes dry. However, moment the rainy season floods, many agricultural lands have changed their function into physical developments such as hotels, housing, and shop houses that now is rampant. The factor of lack of supervision from the government of Singkawang City in land use is weak handling, and law enforcement against violations committed. Application of sanctions which are firm against violators needs to be applied by means of license revocation or physical demolition of buildings that are not in accordance with the licensing procedure. So the recommendation is, the first one is population growth in the city of Singkawang must be continuously suppressed because population growth is a factor that has a very big influence on land use. The second one is consistency in implementing land use policies must be well run by local governments, especially protection for agricultural land use. And the last one is the role of government is needed to apply sanctions which are firm against violators.
I think that's all from us. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for that. This time it's a very it's a very theoretical approach and a very conceptual approach to the task discussing land use change in Singkawang. When you mention anything about regulatory frameworks and law enforcement and lack of supervision, I guess this illustrates a very classic situation that happens across the country, across the board. I would say. What do you think, other than sanctions? I know sanctions and strict or heavy sanctions are more geared towards the as a consequence thing. Like it's at the end of things. You know. How would you address the issue? Of law enforcement, especially land use law enforcement, at the beginning? So dari hulu ke hilir. If you talk about sanctions, it's hilir, but at the beginning, at the hulu side, how would you? What do you think needs to be done?
Other than sanctions and regulation, yes, Surya.
Sanctions and regulations are
Other than that.
Are at the, if you draw a straight line from beginning to end, I think it's towards the end. If you talk about sanctions, and penalties, it's towards the end of things. But what would you do to anticipate at the beginning? What would you do to anticipate?
Give us a minute, sir. We are discussing it.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, by all means.
Yeah. So we think that before dividing to any areas in the land use, we need to know that is this area, is this land are suitable from geographic way or economic way or any way? Is it like suitable to build something to make this area to be like to divide into a great land use? I mean, like if you want to build house, make sure it is in a land that are suitable for the housing, residential, something like that. Or when you want to make the industrial area, make sure it is a little bit far away from the housing area. So there is no in the future there is no more land use change. I think that's how it goes.
Okay. Good. That's a good explanation. We do need to make sure that whatever it is we plan on building or whatever it is we plan on doing to the land should consider um, its should consider various factors, environmental, social, economical, and so on. Um, there are a couple of keywords that I picked up from your presentation that the land use in Singkawang happens does not happen according to plan, as in it doesn't conform to the current laws or regulation. It doesn't abide by the current laws or regulations. And one of the reasons why this is happening is because land use change is something that is, in my opinion, is something that is inevitable. It will happen, and it's a very dynamic process. It's very dynamic. Land use change will follow the changes brought through time, market changes, market powers, market share changes, and so land use change can be market driven, can be socially driven, and whatnot. And it spins out of control. It can spin out of control if there are no spatial plans or regulatory frameworks in place. And even if regulatory frameworks are in place, it can still spin out of control if people do not conform, or if people don't obey those regulations. And what I'm trying to say is that your presentation actually signifies the importance of spatial planning education for the common people, not just for us academics, or for you spatial planning, or for you urban planning, regional planning students. No, but spatial planning education for the people, for the common people. The logic behind it is that if people understand the significance of spatial planning, they understand they understand why the regulations are in place, then conformity will follow. Then they will understand why they have to obey or they have to follow the laws and regulations. Then they will understand why the sanctions are in place and so on and so forth. So I think the key takeaway or the key highlight of this presentation is that spatial planning, education for common people, for those who are non-spatial planning natives, I would say. I'd like to invite comments or remarks from other groups, from people in the audience, if they would like to share their thoughts. If nobody has anything to share, then I'd say I'd like to give this group a virtual clap, a virtual applause for this group, and you may end or close your session, and I would like to invite the next group to prepare their presentation.
Listening, and thank you for your attention. That's all from us.
Thank you very much.
Is my sound is here or clear? Good afternoon, guys. We are from Group 3. On today, we will present about land use change in Kota Juang, Biren in Aceh, Indonesia. The group member is Kaedi Zafari, student number 16, Atifananda, student number 17, Arik Shalendra, student number 19, and Peter Steve, student number 4. Next, table of content. In this presentation, we will discuss about background, literature review, study, conclusion, recommendation, and references of our research. Next is the background. Kota Juang is the capital district of Biren Regency in Aceh, Indonesia. Based on RT/RW of Biren Regency in 2012 to 2032, there are land use that are designed as a trade, housing, settlements, and agricultural use in the central area of Kota Juang. However, in 2005 to 2017, the land use mismatch were found, such as the agricultural land began to change its function to become an urban center development area, or a part of area that should have been a settlement become a government office area. So this change is occur because the area currently the center of financial activities with more profitable business opportunities. So it can be said that in Kota Juang district, there has been a change in land use that is not accordance with the spatial plan. Therefore, this research will examine what are the factors that influence land use change and how these factors affect land use change in Kota Juang Biren, which later can be used for further research or policy. Next, in this study, we will discuss 3 main points. First is what changes in land use have occurred in Kota Juang district. Second is what are the factors that influence it or affect it. And the third is how will the land use change affect Kota Juang district planning. And this slide, you can see the problem formulation, study objective, and scope of study area. Next, to facilitate the research process, we use this following frame of thought or systematic description. First is the problem issues of Kota Juang district, and next the problem formulation. Then the theoretical basis of this research will be explained, what data is needed, and analysis of land changes in city of Juang district. And the last is conclusion, suggestion from this research.
The next is literature review. Land use is the characterization of land based on what can be built on it and what land can be used for. It's determining what sort of community, environment, or settlement can be used on a specific type of land. One definition of land use is the total of arrangements, activities, and inputs that people undertake in a certain land cover type. Land use change is the process by which human activities transform the natural landscape, referring to how land has been used, usually emphasizing the functional role of land for economic activities. Land use change can be described by the complex interaction of behavioral and structural factors associated to the demand, the technological capacity, social relations, affecting demand and capacity, and the nature of the environment. Next. These are the land use change factors. The first one is urban extension factor. The physical problem of urban extension is the extension of the administrative area or the formation of a new administration, namely an increase in the area of the city jurisdiction. Land use is very much influenced by humans, activities, and location, where the three relationships are closely related, so it can be considered a cycle of land use change. The second is the topographic factor. The topography is a condition that describes the slope of the land or the contour of the land. The bigger the contour of the land, the bigger the land slope. The land that is suitable for development as a residential area is a relatively sloping land, has a small slope, but it has a large potential for development. Topographical conditions are influenced by hilly and flat conditions and the natural environment. The third one is population growth factor. Population growth is a city forming process, one of which is the occurrence of population migration and an increase in the birth rate, which relates to the phenomenon of urban extension to rural areas since from a morphological, economic, social, and physiological perspective. Population growth has two things that affect the increase over time, namely the increase in the population birth rate and the high migration from one area to another. And the last one is the accessibility factor. Accessibility is often associated with distance, travel time, and travel cost. The level of regional accessibility can be determined based on several variables, namely road network availability, the number of means of transportation, length, road width, and road quality. Also, what determines the level of access is the pattern of land use arrangements. So the distance traveled and the condition of network availability become the benchmarks for the accessibility assessment. Next.
And then the study. Next. Juang City, Beren Aceh. Juang City in a sub-district in Beren Regency, Aceh, Indonesia. The land use condition in the city center before the existence of the Beren district tended to dominate agricultural land use between housing and trade because agriculture was the dominant economic activity in ancient times. Change in land use in the Kota Juang subdistrict began when Beren became a district in 2000. Then in 2001 until 2010, many development led to change and land use conversions such as now new government lands, plain housing, trade, and public facilities. They are of the fighting city where the land change are the most, such as agriculture, land and plantation are increasingly being lost to other more profitable use. Next. Development of land use change in Juang City Center. Juang City Center in 90,000 until 1,900 until 2000. The condition of land use in the city center before the existence of Biren Regency tended to dominate the use of agricultural land between housing and trade. Because agriculture was the dominant economic activity at that time, based on Bapeda data, it is found that the dominance of agricultural land use and housing is 1.638 hectare or 58% for agricultural land and 935.83 hectare or 33% for settlements. The dominance of agricultural land use in the period 1990 until 2000 was due to the absence of Kota Juang in Beren district, resulting in minimal use of government office land and commercial land with Berian urban status as a level 2 area of North Aceh Regency. Juang City Center in 2001 until 2017. During its development, Kota Juang experienced significant change in its land use in 2001 until 2017, which led to major change in commercial land, housing, agriculture, office, and public service facility. The growth of settlements and trade, commercial and service experienced a large increase while agriculture experienced a decline. The use of commercial land and service is 9%, housing and settlements are 19%, office 0.62%, public service facilities 0.5%, commercial and residential 4.26%, and industrial 0.260%. 26%. Furthermore, agriculture has decreased land by 33%, swims to 21,029 hectare. Meanwhile, the use of green open space has not changed, namely 21.4 hectare and military area 6.06 hectare.
The next is the analysis of land use change in the urban RDTR of Biren Regency in 2013 to 2034. The basis for determining the 2013 to 2034 RDTR whose handling priority is part of the Biren Regency RTRW is stated that Bandar Biren is the capital of the Kota Juang district, which is the capital of Biren Regency, designating the Kota Juang Center area or Biren as a strategic area. In this area, it is hoped that various centers of socio-economic services will develop. But the most important thing is the development of various trade activities and office services, which are potential economic sectors that spur the acceleration of regional economic growth. In its implementation, the local government targets the implications of the RDTR in 4 periods starting in 2015 to 2034, where what will be achieved is the realization of a spatial pattern consisting of the realization of protected areas, cultivation areas, networks, and infrastructure. The program policies regulated in RTR and RTRW contain several different land uses, as well as comparisons of existing conditions with policies planned by the government. These are the map of existing land use in Kota Juang in 2017 and the map of RTRW 2012 to 2032 in Kota Juang. As you can see, the light orange area is for rural settlements, the orange area is for urban settlements, and the green is for plantation area. And the last is the map of RDTR 2013 to 2034 in Kota Juang. As you can see, the green area is for green open space, the yellow area is for settlement, the pink area is for trade and services, the purple area is for economic, the gray area is for the government,
The orange area is for public service facilities, and the light purple area is for mixed zone for settlement and trade services. Based on the existing map, there is a change in the commercial expansion that occurs directly converting agricultural land that occurs on part of the road network due to the land government intervention in 2014, which changed the planned railway line to become a secondary urban road network, so that commercials began to grow in the area. Based on this description, it can be interpreted that the program implemented by the local government, which is regulated in the RTRW and RDTR plans, is a form of future development plans. The physical development of the city and local government special pattern policies also influence the development of the city. To overcome the occurrence of irregularities in land use against the RTRW and RDTR, local government should further disseminate the city of Juang, RTRW, and RDTR to the community and minimize further irregularities in land use, as well as rehabilitate areas that have changed the functions. Next.
Influence of factors of land use change in Juang City Center. The urban expansion factor. This area has experienced land use change before and after the division of the Berion district from northern Aceh. Before the Kota Juang, Berion was established, the use of land was used more for trade and emerged slowly. But after establishment of the Berion district, commercial land use expanded dramatically. After the establishment of the Berion Regency in 2000, the use of commercial land for commercial use expanded to include Bandar Berion, Berion Munasah Daya, Pulau Aragedong Tengah, Gelanggang Tengah, Berion Menasah Blang, dan Berion Menasah Relate and Settlement. Topography factors. The height of area contour. Before the division of Berion around 90 and 19 until 2000, the use of residential land, the flat topographical condition of the Kota Juang as land used for settlement, trade, government, and public service were on a flat topography, while the lowest topography designed for agricultural, such as rice field, and the high topography is for plantation and dry agricultural, but after the burn was established independently from 2001 until now, the low topographical area began to build housing, trade, and even office. Urban natural condition. As for the natural condition in the urban center of Kota Juang, there are lakes or swamps and green open space. These two components are areas that are included in the protection of the local area. The natural condition of the swamps in the city center are included in the low land elevation, so that the use of agricultural land tends to develop in the area. Then, due to the orientation of being in an undeveloped area, some of these swamp areas are slowly starting to dry out as green open space with a hardening process. This is due to the existence of a strategic location and the use of economic value resulting from the function of this land itself. Next. Population growth factor. The population growth in the city center continues to increase from the observation that many housing developers have begun to develop housing in hilly areas due to the lack of the land in the flat area or the urban core of Kota Juang. From the theoretical study to related things of affect population growth, namely population growth rate and population migration rate in the city center. Accessibility factor, mileage accessibility, distribution of public facilities in Kota Juang to facilitate the community or users within the reach of Kota Juang sub-district and also Berion Regency travel time is easily diversely affected by the condition of available road network. Currently, most of the road network within Kota Juang, such as arterial roads, collector roads and environmental roads are in good condition and congestion is minimal. Regarding change in land use caused by accessibility factors, there are indeed some agricultural land that have turned into settlement and trade as a result of availability of road networks. In the past, the nets were potholess or bad, but now they are well equipped with drainage systems, houses or shop building have been built. Road network condition. The condition of the road network in the downtown area is in a good category and does not experience congestion. All road networks connected to public service center have a good road network. There are several types of networks in the city center, namely primary arterial roads, secondary arteries, secondary collector, neighborhood roads, and local roads. In 2014, the local region adopted a policy of converting the non-functioning railroad network into a road network to eliminate congestion and increase the land value in the area. Since the policy was realized with the opening of the road network, land for trade and service in the area grew, which was previously an agricultural area. Thus, land use orientation rather than the main road network in the city center tends to function as a commercial.
We now catch up with the conclusion and the recommendation. So go next. So in our conclusion, we state that the result of human activity is partially seen in the changes in land use cover. For example, or for instance, the conversion of natural forests to farmland and beaches to urban centers. Measuring these changes involves measuring land cover at different time intervals. And the expansion of residential and commercial areas led to agricultural areas decreasing. The change was influenced by the physical development of Kotajuang. The district has experienced changes in land use. For instance, swamps, which were formerly agricultural areas, changed to its function to open space and settlement areas. And the last point is factors such as urban expansion, topography, and population growth really influence change. According to the analysis findings, population growth and urban expansion are the most significant factors that influence urban land use in Kotajuang Birion. Next. So the recommendations, changes in land use are bound to happen in any city. However, there is need to be aware on how to deal with land change issues so that it does not have a negative impact on the environment, such as residential land and agricultural land. I guess, okay, let me just share the screen because this is different. It's different. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Sorry, Mr. Nanda, for that. It's just an error. So the recommendation, I'm gonna repeat: changes in land use are bound to happen in any city. However, there's needs to be aware on how to deal with land change issues so that it does not have the negative impact on the. Sorry. So that it does not have a negative impact on the environment, such as residential land and agricultural land. Agriculture is decreasing in Kotajuang due to urban land use change. The government needs to develop new plans in other districts to develop agriculture areas in Kota Juang. This can benefit the industry. And then the third point, population for protected areas in the center of Kota Juang. Apart from the urban areas, topography and population growth factors mentioned earlier, there are several other factors that cause land use change, such as economic and cultural factors that can be considered in further studies to examine the influence of these other factors on changes in land use. And then the last point is the government needs to implement policies to boost the Kota Juang with more advanced strategic economic plans, specifically in Aceh province. And that marks the end of our presentation. If there's some questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. I think the last presentation really drives home what I mentioned previously, that land use change is, I think, up to a certain point, is inevitable for as long as there are humans, as long as there are people, and as long as there are human activities, then land use will shift from one function to another. As you guys mentioned, it was once forestry then turned into agriculture, and then agriculture shifted into more industrial or commercial activities, and it will continue to do so. And these changes are, as you mentioned, driven by population growth, economic growth, urban expansion, or maybe population growth, economic growth causes urban expansion, which during that process causes land use change. And what I like is that one other thing that I like about this about your presentation is that you highlighted the importance to disseminate plans to the public, which supports what I said previously about spatial planning education for the common people. People need to know. People need to know what the government is up to. I reckon it's in line with the spirit of transparency and spirits of transparency and good governance. And lastly, when you mentioned there is a need for more strategic economic development plans, I think I couldn't agree more. There might be a need to shift from one economic activity to another, because it is no longer viable economically, no longer viable socially, or no longer acceptable environmentally. So these are the considerations that need to be taken into account when developing such plans. I think that's all my comments for this group. I think the way you guys presented, I don't know whether it was intentional or not, but the three presentations that we had are very complementary to each other, and I guess all I can say is to the three groups that have presented today is excellent job. I would now like to invite anyone from the audience who would like to share their thoughts or comments to please come forward and deliver your message. If nobody, if nobody, if no one, if no one is, if no one is, if nobody has any comments or questions, then I guess we can conclude our session for today. It's been really interesting. Thank you very much for sharing. I've learned a couple of new things today, or some things that some of the things that you guys have presented today have enforced or reinforced some of the things that I've been thinking of, lately. So thank you all for that. And oh, I forgot to say to the final group, you may now officially close or end your presentation, and then afterwards I will officially close and end today's session.
Okay, guys, thank you for listening, and Pak Prananda for the feedback. That's all for our group. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Again, next week we will have 2 groups presenting, the last 2 groups with Pak Rudy, and hopefully I can make next week's presentation, because judging by the way things are going at the moment, I think it should be quite exciting. Thanks again, everyone, for sharing your thoughts today. I wish you all a very good day, and please stay safe. Our university is not exactly our university is currently facing challenging times with a number of staff and students that have been exposed to the coronavirus. So I'd like to take this chance to wish them all a very speedy recovery, and I wish you all and I would like to say to you all to stay safe and stay healthy wherever you are, and I hope to see you all next week. So thank you very much. Have a good day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.